Yep, from like 9 to like 9:30.
How can I say hi?
Oh yeah. Why, hello, hello. How are you doing? Am I coming in loud and clear? I can see you. Oh.
Dave?
Yep. Oh, you know what? I may have to change something.
Hello?
Hey. You can't hear me at all, huh? That is weird. Weird, weird, weird. Hang on, let me see if it works on here.
Dave?
Can you hear me at all? Okay. Huh. Let's see. Let's see. Ooh, video. Okay. So, I got two cameras on here. This is helpful. Huh, I don't know, but you still can't hear me. Try something out. Okay.
Hey,
Now can you hear me?
to something else.
Can you hear me at all now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep. Okay.
Do you hear me okay?
Yeah. No, I hear you good.
Okay. I set up Audacity while you were setting up, so I
Oh,
can
you are
record if
awesome.
you want to.
Yeah, if you can do that, and I will record Audacity too. And the reason I ask is because it makes it the audio much clearer on both ends if we do it that way.
Okay. Let me just start the recording then.
I just started too. Perfect. We're good. All right, let me just turn off my subwoofer beneath me.
It is picking you up, but I guess that will be okay.
Okay, here we go.
I gotta say, one of the reasons I loved moving here was so that my desk could not be out in the open.
Yeah. And now, so it's not in the open, or it is now?
No, I have a whole room to myself.
Oh, awesome. Oh, it's right. Yeah, because your last place, it was like tucked behind.
Yeah,
The TV
for
inside.
for the last three apartments we've had together, I'm always in exposed to the living room,
Yeah.
and I have changed all that now.
All right. So,
I don't have a kid living with me.
yeah, well, that helps a bit too. All right. So, if you go to that Twitch page, you can see everything that people can see now. So I have um, your information, your Twitter on the right-hand side. People can see what's up. Actually, I'm zooming
Which
a tiny bit more.
can you link me?
Absolutely. Sure.
Okay. Also, you could probably switch back to your other cam. The problem was me. For whatever reason, Skype chose whatever chose speakers that didn't exist.
Yeah, it's definitely a Skype thing. Yep.
Yeah.
So I have. I want to go this way. So I have two cameras. Like the one in Twitch is like my main webcam,
Oh, hey.
and the one down here is actually my Kinect camera. So I've been programming on that, but the computer thinks it's a camera like anything else.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, technology. So it's weird. On my screen, I can see like myself going through both. But so what I do is I record the audio and the video. I edit it later on, and then I just throw this on YouTube. The video part, and the audio actually gets put into podcast feeds.
Cool.
All right, so I try to keep them all like 30, 35 minutes. This way it's about short length of a commute. And we're free to talk about whatever. So I'll do a real quick introduction to you and who you are. And that's your cue. As soon as I say, thank you for joining us, it's your cue to hop on in and get the show started. Sound good?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, let's do it. So we'll do it in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Indie Dev Podcast. I'm your host, David Voiles. With me this week is Gil Almogi. Gil has loved video games since he was young. To that end, he's a freelance video game critic. The majority of his work, up until recently, appeared on Game Revolution, but he's also written for Something Boring Block, Armless Octopus, and Game Music Fans. His particular interests, his particularly interesting, I butchered this one. His particular interests when it comes to game critics, representation. Okay. Now it makes sense to me. I just couldn't read these words very well. So let me try this over one more time.
You don't read words good.
Yeah, I know. I'm definitely not a good word reader. All right, one more time. Hello and welcome to the Indie Dev Podcast. I'm your host, David Voiles. With me this week is Gil Almogi. Gil has loved video games since he was young. To that end, he's a freelance video game critic. The majority of his work, up until recently, appeared on Game Revolution, but he's also written for Something Else blog, Armless Octopus, and Game Music Fans. His particular interests when it comes to game criticism involve representation, identity, and humanity. Gil, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, I want to quickly cover, this is the power of the internet, right? We met on the internet several years ago. We started writing together through Armless Octopus, and then finally had the chance to finally catch up at PAX East a while ago, right?
Yeah, we met on Twitter.
Yep.
You were one of my first Twitter friends. I think you're the first Twitter friend I've ever met in real life.
All right, and hopefully I set the bar not too high, but like to a low level so I could easily be surpassed by whoever came by next.
It's hard to get nicer than Dave Voiles.
And the internet is a crazy place, so you never know what you're going to get. That's why I figured Twitter was a happy medium. And then PAX East, right? Most people are very nice at PAX, so good way to meet new people.
Yeah, I mean, it's overwhelming. I'm one of those people that if I enter a place that has, I guess, more than 10 people, I will probably not meet anyone.
Yeah. Right. Start to get like reserved and kind of shy and hang out in the back a bit.
I just become an armadillo.
So why don't you give us a bit of insight on you? Like, how did you get started doing anything with games? How did you get started with writing? Like, what was the thing that finally ignited and made you say, you know what, I want to spend time writing about games, getting the word out there about what you appreciate?
I was 29, and I guess it just hit me that I wasn't contributing to my favorite thing. Video games were my favorite thing and are, and I love playing them daily, and I loved reading at the time, Game Informer and watching stuff on game trailers.
Yep.
Those are my only two sources of information at that time. And it just occurred to me, I'm just like, oh, I can write, maybe. So I just wanted to do something. So I started a blog. And through a series of coincidences, I eventually got the guts to ask like other people, like, hey, can I write for you? And that's how I ended up writing for Game Music Fans first. And then you connected me to Mike Wall for Armless Octopus, and Greg O'Connor-Reed, who does a lot of representation for composers in the video game industry. He put me in touch with the people for the Something Else blog, which is run by Something Else, which is a company that produces music run by Nile Rodgers, famed music artist. So, yeah, that's my history. Somehow my life changed. I mean, so that blog I started in 2012.
Yep.
And since then, I've been to E3 three times. I mean, I would not have imagined that.
Yeah, right. It's like
Because
something that you look at and see like the industry kind of owns that and runs that, and it seems like so high up. Was that the perception?
yeah, I mean, I really just wanted to start a blog, and I was just like, oh, and maybe people will like read it, and then I mean, because I didn't start Twitter at that time, so that came later, and then I thought, oh, maybe Twitter will help me get my writing out, and I mean, I don't even know how many of my followers even follow me for my writing, but I've gotten good feedback, and eventually, I started getting paid by writing for Game Revolution.
Yep.
And I've left them, so now I hope to get paid more per article, even if I'm not going to write as often.
Right. But it's still like something you're passionate about, right?
Oh fuck yeah! I mean, I still feel that the best way for me to contribute right now is games criticism. I definitely like digging deeper into what I'm doing, what I'm playing,
Mm-hmm.
thinking about how it affects me, how it affects others. Um, it all interests me. I mean, I do truly love games, and I want to contribute to that zeitgeist, I guess, in some way.
Yeah. So, uh, like touching back on Twitter, um, it has its ups and downs, obviously, right? And they're finally starting to ban, people on the alt right and very outspoken, mischievous people. Overall, though, what would you say your sentiment is of Twitter over the last 4 years or so since you came on board? Has it been worth your while, or
I would be doing nothing at all in the video game industry if it weren't for Twitter.
it's a powerful
Um,
tool?
yeah, I mean, you were a helpful connection for sure, but I mean, that it just kind of cascades from there. You just meet other people get to hear you. Some errant retweet gets you in touch with somebody else. Um, you know, it's been largely beneficial for me,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. And as I said, I wouldn't have had any of the opportunities that I have, and I would have a lot less friends
Yeah.
if I wasn't writing, if I wasn't on Twitter. Um, although I mean, you brought up that Twitter is banning alt-right accounts.
Yep.
Better to say racist, white supremacist
Yes. Yes.
accounts.
I'm just going by what I read this today, but yes, I
Yeah.
agree completely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. What I find unfortunate, I mean, Twitter has been largely positive for me, and I've only experienced very minimal harassment. I mean, even when I had sustained harassment over the period of like a day and a half, it's nothing compared to what women experience just for, I don't know, being women.
Yeah.
I expressed I guess, pseudo controversial opinion and I got harassment, but women can just say they like ice cream and they'll get like calls to reveal their breasts. So, um, to that end, I mean, like, as much as Twitter is beneficial, and I think it's beneficial for everybody to an extent, it can be beneficial to an extent to everybody. Um, it saddens me that Twitter is slow on the uptake to protect its users.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, it's trying to protect its numbers, its
Right.
users.
Yeah, and overall the numbers just haven't increased dramatically in years. And you see Facebook's just kind of eating its lunch, then Snapchat comes in. So it makes you wonder, like, they've got to start to make a move soon, and I don't know when that is. But yeah, the reason I was asking was uh, because I've also met so many people through Twitter, in video games and tech industry, and it really does open up new worlds for you, right? I mean, you're in New Jersey, I'm in Philadelphia, so we're not far at all. But had there not been tools like Twitter, like I think how many fewer people would we know in this industry, or how much more difficult would it be to make those connections, right? In many ways, it helps to slowly break down the walls and those barriers for a lot of people, but at the same time, it also builds up walls and barriers because people don't want to give out their opinion for fear of, the radicals like coming out and kind of jumping on them for it.
Yeah, Twitter in many ways, I think, especially in the video game industry, is a leveling force.
Hmm.
Um, I can hit up a developer and they'll talk to me in some way. I can hit up an artist and they'll talk to me. I can hit up just other game players and they'll talk to me. And it's like there's a constant conversation going on within the video games industry that I
Yeah.
don't think is reflected in the same way in movies or uh, or TV. Perhaps comics to an extent. I think comics are probably leveled in the same way. Deep nerd media seems to be leveled,
Yeah.
I think that comes from a lot of people's careers sort of branching off from just enthusiasm.
Hmm.
um, not to diminish people who actually like went to school to study for things, but you know that a lot of the building of the video game industry in the '90s was literally just like off enthusiasm and people just and people who knew how to program just going like, well, I guess I'll do this because nobody's going to teach me how.
Yeah.
So I think perhaps everybody just kind of feels like in a similar playing field there. Um, yeah.
Okay. So pivoting off of that, then, you said um, you're passionate about writing. You got into it several years ago. Like, which areas in particular, or are you very passionate about and want to discuss? Because that's where I think the cream of the story is here.
I mean, you read it out in my little blurb there.
Mm.
I'm always fascinated in issues of identity and representation and humanity. And what I mean by humanity is like, um, I guess the very automatic ways that we respond to games. I'm always super curious in like the weird or niche ways that people respond to things in games, the weird things they do. I mean, like to that end, I think Gita Jackson, who just recently came onto Kotaku, wrote about like this interesting teen pregnancy trend in The Sims 4. And like people who are writing stories around that. I mean, that's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
It's kind of fringe thing that's happening, and it's sort of a standalone complex in itself. Um, like that kind of stuff. People can go like, I just want to plug in and shoot with my friends or something like that. But
Hmm.
for me, it's like I want to. I'm very interested in the guy who, I don't know, like the guy in Overwatch who is trying to be the lowest ranked player on Earth.
That's
uh,
me.
because it makes you wonder like why would somebody do that? What is the
Yeah.
effort that entails that? Do games have mechanics that allow you to be yourself?
Hmm.
Uh, and very few games I think are programmed that way.
Hmm.
Uh, but some games are unintentionally programmed in a way that allow you to present yourself with an identity that it closely matches that in real life.
Yeah. Like, typically you play one character in one way, and that's your only option. But also the way you interact with the different characters that are there. You look at like what when I think of different or more broad sets of characters, I think of like Dragon Age or Mass Effect, right? Because you can play the character however you'd like, whether it's Paragon or I forgot what's the opposite of Paragon.
Renegade.
Renegade, yes. Because I always played like Renegade Femship, like that. I thought that was by far the best character, and Jennifer Hay. I want to make sure I'm saying her
Hail.
name correctly. Hale. I was gonna say Haley. I'm like, no, wait, that's not it. Yeah, she does a fantastic job. So I stick with her every time I go to play a character, and then I look at how you can have relationships with different characters, even Dragon Age. Like it's not just um, black and white what everything is. So I look at that as I'm starting to open things up for people in games. But even like dating sims. Like I'm looking at an article here. If you have a dating sim, then there's that pigeon dating sim game. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, How to Fool Boyfriend.
Yes, yes, yes. So like there are just so many different kinds of games out there, and I don't think most people are even aware of how it's more than just shoot 'em ups the entire time.
Yeah, I mean the breadth of games that are out there are just fascinating. They have this game that came out today, Genitalia something. It's produced by Devolver Digital.
Hmm.
Um, it's a bunch of kind of dicks with asses, and you play with friends, and you try to fuck each other, I guess. And but I mean that gives me like a lot of thoughts. It gives me a lot of thoughts on consent and sexuality and things like that. Like something that just seems immediately goofy to somebody who is used to playing just big budget shooters and action games may just look at that and be like, oh, well, that is a quick joke. But in many ways, like there's a human element to it. There are things to think about, and that's what interests me.
Yep.
Uh, dicks, um, dicks
Genital
in games.
jousting. Is that what it is?
Genital jousting. Yes, that's it. I mean, I think there's a soccer game too. I guess if you don't necessarily want to fuck, but I mean, it's just cool. I'm very curious to play that right now. Actually,
Yeah, I got the video on in the background. I'm curious to see what this is.
um, but I mean, like to me, it's not just funny. I think there are a lot of themes there that may be very interesting. It's a very blatant expression of sexuality that doesn't like beat around the bush.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And 10, 15, 20 years ago, people would never consider making something like this for games, or just wouldn't be, accepted the way it is today.
Yeah, I mean, a million years ago, in Atari, we had Custer's Last Stand, where literally your goal is to rape uh,
Yep.
a Native American woman, which is like abhorrent, but games have only progressed so far from there in many ways. But here, as I said, you have a game that's about consent. You have you have people that are agreeing to play together and have in ways sexual relations with each other.
Hmm.
But it's competitive, it's silly, it doesn't take sex seriously.
Yeah.
Uh, but like not seriously in a way like like people think that they can do anything that they want, but it's people who come together and they know they're going to laugh
Hmm.
while performing sexual actions. And to me, that's a more realistic depiction of sex than Mass Effect or Dragon Age.
Yeah.
Where you can just say the thing highlighted in blue,
Right.
and and you're ready to fuck.
Yeah. And then you
Um,
have to watch some like cheesy mocap scene where it just like segues between, you know, brief stills.
yeah, with a little thumping, the boop 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 boop
Yeah.
boop, and it's just like, oh yeah, that's romance, I guess. And it always happens like during the final countdown. So I mean, that's the only time one can have sex, which is right before you're probably gonna die.
Right.
So, there are many messages that Mass Effect and Dragon Age send about sex that are kind of like, okay, I mean, I guess you can only program a game so many ways.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's interesting. And even like that pigeon game that you brought up, you know, you actually play a human that's trying to romance pigeons. But once you get past that facade of a human woman trying to romance pigeons,
Mhm.
uh, it has to make you think about like what's the fantasy there, what is a fetish, what is a relationship,
Right.
what are the things that go into our actual relationships that are reflected here by very handsome pigeons.
Yeah. And
So that's how I look at games. It's just they're fun and interesting, and they provide modes of self-expression
yeah.
you don't imagine.
So like, do you see as going more towards the like art spectrum than what we had maybe 20 years ago, where it was just give me another side-scrolling platformer on Genesis and I'm good to go?
I think we're seeing a split in terms of what one calls AAA games, and we know that AAA and indie are can be very subjective terms, but
Yes.
I'm talking about like you have a big budget publisher and you have a branding and a marketing team that has the money and the wherewithal to really support your game. That to me is AAA. Um, and I think AAA games are only changing incrementally.
Mhm.
You're still seeing the slew of sequels. You're still seeing the slew of first-person shooters. They're the same first-person shooters in many respects. And then like you have a handful of new games that get announced in at E3,
Yep.
and you spend years wondering when they're going to come,
If they ever come at all.
if they ever come at all. Sony is like particularly guilty of that.
I know. Come on. When are we getting the Last Guardian? It keeps getting pushed.
I don't want to talk about it. And but in the indie sphere, you have games that are branching off or different. Now, some
Yeah.
indies do try to resemble the AAA, but like
Mhm.
lower budget. And good for them. But others are trying to do something different, something weird, something artful. And then you have alt games, games done by like literally one person that may get put out for even free on itch.io.
Yep.
Like
Can
Robert.
you talk about itch.io for a moment?
As much as I know about itch.io, it is literally just a platform for independent developers to distribute games easily, and they can charge or not. It's, I guess, just a very easy templated platform for game distribution.
Hmm.
Uh, and like you have free games like from Robert Yang. All his games have to do with male gay sexuality. I mean, like in one of them, you're kind of romancing a car
Hmm.
by running your
Oh.
hand along a stick shift. And it's like it's very symbolic, it's very cheeky, but at the same time, it's compelling you to perform an action that you probably don't always think of sexual.
Right.
And then he has a game where you're like literally giving like a rub down to a guy at like in like a gym shower.
Hmm.
Uh, all his games are banned from Twitch, by the way. I'm surprised they aren't shutting us down now just for
Wow.
me talking about it.
So
uh,
they're pretty strict about what they show on Twitch, huh?
yeah. Oh my God. Twitch is notoriously Puritan. I mean,
Jeez.
only a handful of his games actually even show anything. A lot of them are more sexually suggestive than they are, actually showing the act of sex. But they're all banned because they bother to show sexuality. And it's lumped in the same vein as like female Twitch people who I don't know, choose to wear, I guess, just a bra or something. And I mean, it's just like you kind of go like, well, it's their right. I mean, they can do whatever the hell they want, but Twitch is like, nope, you must be fully clothed and wearing a chastity belt.
Yeah.
you
It's
know, and
yeah. Twitch definitely seems to be trying to play it safe for the most part. I mean, I, so what always drives me crazy with Twitch is I try to watch it with Diego, my 9-year-old stepson, and you never know if something's going to be appropriate or not. Like even in terms of language. So I like if they had like a not so much a filter, but some way that I can just check to see like, okay, what kind of language will I even have on here? Like what's going on? But it's hard.
yeah, I mean, they went to that step of like monitoring people's clothing, what they choose to wear on these things, but language flies.
Right.
Um, Chat rooms need to be like heavily moderated, and if you're just twitching by yourself, that's impossible.
Right. Yeah, like your
Uh,
attention can only be in so many places at once.
right, and I mean, and Twitch very much models Twitter in that sense. It's just like a lot of people can come on, and you can ban them from your stream, but they'll just go on somebody else's stream to harass them about God knows what.
Right.
I actually have experience. I used a handful of times. I was moderator on like Anita Sarkeesian's
Mm-hmm.
stream,
Oh,
feminist stream.
jeez, I can only imagine what the crazies are like when they hop in there.
I mean, it's literally she's just trying to play a freaking game. I
Yeah.
mean, not she's not saying anything else. And even if she was, I don't care.
Right.
Like that's her right. It's her channel. But people are coming on there to harass her about like being a feminist, being a woman.
Right.
Uh, Having taken offense to one thing or another ever in their lives. And it's just like, bro, you're being sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
And I don't see like how it benefits anyone else. When they jump in and harass people, rather than just let them. it's their channel. Like, let the individual stream and say what they want to say and play the games they want to play.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, to that end, like, it's just, I think Twitch it's an awesome expressive tool. It allows you to do, it allows you to reach a wholly different fan base, but at the same time, I want my friends, people of different, racial identities and sexualities and stuff, to just be able to do that without having to worry about people harassing them.
No, I agree completely. So are there any people in particular that come to mind that we should be following right now or aware of? Like, if you want to highlight the work, whether it's the writing, the games, the material of some handful of people, who would be towards the top of your list at the moment?
I mean, one of my favorite writers, and I can't believe she's my friend, is Catherine Cross, who I discovered at GamerEx 2 in California. She is one of the most eloquent, interesting writers. She has a focus, in particularly in social interaction. But I mean, she can write about games and just geek out, like anybody. She's an amazing writer. Gita Jackson, who I mentioned, just went to Kotaku.
How do we spell her name?
Gita, Gita,
Oh, okay.
and Jackson.
There we go.
Yeah, she's now at Kotaku. She's an incredible writer. She definitely gets down to that human element that I still actually really need to dig into myself. She's heavily interested in different things, and she used to write about fashion in games, which, I mean, nobody writes about that stuff. And in many ways it gets dismissed, but she was one of the first to like literally discuss outfits, how to emulate them in some way in your daily fashion. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, people put work into dressing up these characters. Why wouldn't you talk about that?
Absolutely. And because it's a game doesn't make it any less valid. And to your point, oddly enough, I was on Reddit today, and one of the things that popped up my feed was someone there's like a whole fashion blog about James Bond fashion. And what you can do is people will take outfits from different scenes of James Bond movies, break them down, show you how to get them, whether it fits right or not correctly. And it sounds like what she's doing is very, very similar, right? Like, lends credibility to what these people are doing. And
Yeah.
bring a niche that may not be initially popular to everyone, but it's clearly got a following.
Yeah. And I mean, and there are others. Tanya DePass, who created the hashtag I Need Diverse Games.
I found that one as well.
She's an incredible speaker. She does Twitch streaming. She goes to cons and speaks. Just an incredible person. Awesome person I have as a friend. Kent Sheely. He's very much an artist. He very much reminds me of when I was in art school. And he likes doing like videos of people in like Grand Theft Auto waiting for the bus. And like, he likes exploring these environments and these interactions in games that you're supposed to, I guess, just pass them by or do them once, and the game is supposed to entertain you to the extent that, like, oh, I can do that, but like then you go back to the primary gameplay. But he likes actually doing like videos where somebody's literally just standing at like a bus stop for like 10-12 minutes.
What was his name? I'm trying to find it. Kent Sheely, Chea.
Sheeley, I think.
That explains why I can't find it.
Yeah, he's very much an artist. Yeah, he also does breaking of games, that's glitch art and things like that. He's super fascinating. Oh God, I'm overwhelmed by people.
That's good. Okay, found his Twitter. Perfect.
Yeah, he also for a while he has a pet bird, and he calls them burbs, BIRB. He has a pet bird named Skybelly, and he started drawing these burbles, which were like these rounded off birds, and he started modeling them after like video game characters and such. So.
Oh, this is great. I see one now. It's like a bird in a hat, and it says the versus sign, and then it's like a toilet full of pasta.
Yeah, he's super cool. And and then there are great artists like DJ Kirkland.
Mhm.
Um, he does a lot of art streaming. I think he's actually being interviewed or on a podcast with Crunchyroll today.
Oh, nice.
But he has an excellent style. He's currently working on a comic about a young black boy, which they're underrepresented. And but I mean, he does a lot of video game comics. He mains Peach in Super Smash Brothers. That's a very important detail
Mhm.
uh, to know about someone, I guess. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Awesome. New comic
I'm
coming out, Black Mage, published by Oni Press.
yeah, I don't know. I'm surrounded by just some very cool people.
Yeah, no, this is great. That's why I like trying to get as many people on here as possible. And you've put me in touch with several other people I'd like to get on the show very soon too.
Yeah,
You know, like
Cats
it. Yeah.
and Michelle Basile and Jenny Zhao Shao, I
Yep.
think is how you pronounce her name. They're very much in that alt game section where they're just doing very small projects that explore like explores breakups, I guess, and
Mhm.
the emotions and how they affect your like local community. And Jenny has done stuff that explores like diet, you know, really interesting stuff out there.
Yeah, and that's just part of my goal with this is to try to get as many different angles and corners of the gaming industry as I possibly can. Because what may seem niche to some people or niche today is the next big thing the other day. So, um, yeah, just want to keep getting the word out about what people are doing. So we
Yeah.
went to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying absolutely.
So we went to an event this weekend in New York. Would you mind giving the audience a lowdown on what that event was?
Sure. It was called GamerEx East.
Yep.
It was a much smaller New York City version of the GamerX Large West Prime, whatever you want to call it, that has happened in California for the last 4 years in the Bay Area. It is an LGBTQIA plus focused gaming convention. Where you have a lot of panels on representation. You have gaming, you have cosplay, but it's one giant safe space.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like some assholes like to make fun of safe spaces, but there's for me myself, there is nothing like going to that convention. There's nothing like feeling like you're home, like you are at that convention, where
Yeah.
people won't feel judged and won't feel hurt, and people can speak, and it is valid and helpful. I mean, it's just a really incredible place. And so GamerX East was a smaller version of that at the Microsoft Technology Center, and that took place over the last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I
You gave a
actually
talk as well,
I
right?
actually gave my first single person talk
Okay.
at that convention.
What was it about?
My talk was titled Nostalgia and Enemy to Progress, and it was about how developers and publishers and marketers, I guess, um, utilize nostalgia to appeal to gamers, but ultimately repeat the same issues of representation, marginalization, and problems in accessibility that we experience from various other aspects of game development and publishing and advertising. But nostalgia for me was just an interesting topic that I wanted to explore.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, that talk was me indulging myself. It was me like really wanting to dive into a subject and then make everybody listen to me
Yeah.
explaining my results.
So overall, though, did you have, in terms of putting a talk together, like, was it nerve wracking? Was it a lot of work? I'm asking for people who have never given a talk before, but they'd like to get started. They say you're going from no experience writing about games, working in games. Would you still encourage someone to submit a talk or be a part of an event like this?
I definitely think you should have some experience writing and or talking about games. Not necessarily giving talks,
Mm.
but just like if if YouTube is like a preferred outlet because you hate typing. I mean, then find a way to do that. Because you definitely want to start learning to talk about games as modes of expression.
Yep.
Because I mean, if as much as we have gamers out there appealing for objective reviews, objective reviews of games are does game work? Yes, no, and FYI, many no. um, like getting to talk about the elements of games, getting to talk about how you respond to games. I mean, most people I don't think really analyze their response to games. So I don't know. Read a lot of definitely read a lot of games criticism.
Mhm.
And for me, for preparing for this talk, and as I said, first time, um, I knew the subject I wanted. I had an idea of the things I was thinking about. But what was important for me was that I seek out a range of articles and essays that talk about my subject, which was nostalgia. And unfortunately, you have to be very broad.
Mhm.
Nostalgia is a broad subject, but whatever you want to look up, you kind of want to be very broad because you never know when somebody's actually going to have like an article that mostly has nothing to do with it, and then they have one paragraph that's just like, wow. So you always want to take the chance, just get everything that you can that sounds like it may even tangentially relate to what you want to talk about. I
Yeah.
ended up I ended up reading like dissertations, uh, which was
So you knew your
uh,
stuff in and out.
it was to an extent it was a task in and of itself because I'm actually not a big reader, but it was fun. It was interesting. I was really impressed with the stuff that I found. I mean, like, if I really was being indulgent, I would have put every single quote that I put like in my Evernote ongoing note about the lecture,
Right.
and I would have just bored people with quotes. But I mean, like, I just found like really amazing stuff. Um, so yeah, definitely do research. One of the worst things you could do, and this goes for writing like long form essays, uh, as well as doing talks. The one of the worst things you could do is form all these theses and ideas and feign the idea that you came up with them all by yourself and you're the very first.
Right.
Um,
Like it's an
there
original
are
thought.
right. It's not. Of course, when you frame it, you obviously want to come up with original thoughts or ways to spin things, and you may come up with expressions that you are the first. But to pretend that you came up with these ideas in a vacuum is um, ridiculous to an extent. You when you do research, you learn how many people may have actually written the things you're thinking, and it makes you sound smarter, more interesting, to actually have research that backs up the things you say. I mean, there's nothing better than saying like five other people have written about this at length.
Right.
I'm not the only person who thought this. And by all means, research helps you guide your thoughts. Particularly Rachel Simone Whale. I hope
Yep.
I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. She her work was incredible. I
Yes. She
read
has
one
a
essay by her.
fantastic paper, right?
Oh my God! Yeah, it was called the Nostalgia Question,
Yep.
and in it she explores like the way that she was trying to create nostalgic games that were like kind of hacks of NES and Game Boy cartridges. But the when she was young, she played with what people associate as girly things,
Hmm.
unicorns, rainbows, Hello Kitty, things like that. And she put them into the games to kind of flip things on their head, like make you think like, what would a girl who was obviously not advertised to, in many ways not welcome
Yep.
to games. What would they be nostalgic about? How would they create a game that inspires nostalgia if they were not a part of games
Hmm.
at the time period? So I mean, her work was fascinating. I had to highlight it. I saved it for the end because it was very much like You guys, you have to see this. As I said, like for many ways, the talk was indulgent. Like it was just for me to go, like, you guys, this stuff is so cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I mean, but she touched upon what was very much the crux of my talk, which was that everybody experiences nostalgia in different ways, but the way developers, publishers, and marketers try to appeal to our nostalgia is very much the same. They try to appeal to uh, a very unchanging vision of nostalgia and our histories with games. They very much imagine like just, I guess, a young white boy whose parents can afford an NES,
Right.
and he played these games with heroes that reflected him. And we weren't all there, you know.
Right.
So I really wanted to touch upon that. I really wanted to get to that, and Whale's essay very much explores that, like, to a great tangent. Just to show, like, some people don't even have that nostalgia. What are they gonna do?
Right. Yeah,
What
not
are you?
everyone's gonna have that experience.
Yeah, and it puts the challenge to those marketers. Like, how are you going to appeal to that person's nostalgia when they don't have nostalgia for the things you want them to do? Do you ignore them, or do you find another way?
Right. And what is nostalgia for some right now, right, is we're getting older. There's a whole younger audience coming up behind us, and their nostalgia is going to be the original Xbox and PlayStation 1 and then PlayStation 2 and Xbox 360, right? They're not playing the Mega Mans and original Super Mario.
I'm so excited for them. I'm so excited for this new wave. I wonder what the games of yesteryear will be in 20 years.
Yeah.
Um, I'm very I'm very excited about people never having played Super Mario Brothers, the original, or Mega Man, or Legend of Zelda, or Contra, or Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, I'm super excited for how our culture is going to be shaped by people who don't have memories of these games, who don't have these connections to them, and when the people who want to say, like, you're not a gamer unless you've played, like, these games, when they are too old and weak to defend themselves.
Right.
It will be a fascinating culture shift, and I feel like a subsect of gamers will not go quietly into the night in that respect. But I'm super thrilled. I'm super thrilled about the new generation just fucking everything up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like time for change. It's like shaking up the industry a bit. Well, this has been awesome. So I said I want to keep everything somewhat brief about the length of a commute. We're about to hit that time. But I'm going to close things out the same way I do every other show. So the last time I had a guest on, this was Andrew Peterson. He's one of the developers behind the HoloLens NES. Essentially an NES that allows you to run, an NES emulator that runs on the HoloLens for holographic Mario and Donkey Kong, things like that. So his question when he was on was, what is the least favorite game that you have played?
The least favorite game that I have played.
You can answer any way possible. You could say this is like absolute trash, or maybe this is a game I enjoyed, but I just don't think it's good.
Oh, wow. The least favorite game that I have played. Whew. In terms of, like, overall game mechanics or whatever, I would say Sonic: The Lost World.
Mm-hmm.
That one was really fucking terrible. The story was corny. A lot of the mechanics didn't work well or right. Just a sloppy ass game. But I guess a game that frustrated me in terms of, like I found it, like, really offensive and boring and terrible, and I can't believe gamers would ever come to his defense, was Mugen Soul Z, which is it's an RPG that has, like, 5 million laborious RPG systems in it. It is so like its mechanics are so boring and so convoluted. Like JRPGs are convoluted. Like we get it.
Yeah. Well, it's
Um,
got pretty art. Look at this.
yeah, like JRPGs are convoluted. Like, but like this thing was just like, what if our systems had systems? Huh? Huh? And you just like you want to die, and then I mean like the representation of women in the game was like weird. I mean there's like a childlike demon that gets like slime raped. I mean like it was a game that was like very skeevy and terrible, and the music is always like very upbeat and awful. That was a terrible game. Oh my god.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
It's, it's,
that's one
it's,
that I just remember having memories for, and I wrote a review like indicating that it was terrible, and I got like all these comments like defending it. I'm just like, you guys will stand for anything.
yeah. Well, it is the internet, right? So there's something for everyone on it.
You know, it's I just don't understand people like defending a game that's like terrible, and they probably haven't played either. I love it when gamers get incredulous about reviews before a game has come out.
Right. Right.
Uh, it's just like you didn't play it.
Oh, but they know. They can just tell.
Oh, but the Metacritic score, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. They just know. All
Yeah.
right, so we found two terrible games. I knew about that Sonic Lost World game. Well, I do have hopes that Sonic will come back this time around, though, with Sonic Mania. I played that at PAX. I have high hopes. So we'll see.
I want good things for Sonic. It's just he keeps failing.
I know.
I don't understand how Sega can't do what Nintendo does.
Seriously, right?
Like I would think that the formula for Sonic was an easy one, and apparently that's not true, or I am delusional or something. I don't know.
Sega's lost its way. But what's interesting is, it's like, have you ever seen the Sega or Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter account?
It's amazing.
Right?
The
What
the
happened
Sonic,
with the game? Like,
but the Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter account is in many ways like this alternative trash.
yeah,
It celebrates Sonic for sure, but it celebrates like bad Sonic art,
gotta go fast.
and it makes terrible jokes, and like it's incredible. Like it's run by people who clearly understand social media and dank memes
Yeah,
and
I know. Oh my God.
and stuff like that. And it, but like at the same time, if you distilled that into a Sonic game, it would be terrible.
Right.
So I mean, like they're two different beasts. I mean, I love the Sonic Twitter account, and I love Sonic Mpreg
Yeah.
artwork. Because who doesn't want to have a baby birthed by Sonic himself? But yeah, it's just you can't really put that humor into Sonic. Sonic wasn't meant for that. Sonic is serious, and Sonic has to go fast, and
Yep.
he can't bog himself with dank memes.
I agree. I have hopes for this one. So now that you've answered last week's question, what is your question for the next guest I will have on the show? It could be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be about games, although generally they are.
Oh, okay. What is a game that reminded you of your father?
That is a very good question to ask. So without diving into that one, do you find that games often remind you of people from time to time? Or memories of a person, experience?
I talked about this in my talk. In many ways, they do not, because I don't have a ton of nostalgia for playing with friends. I get. I broke down the word nostalgia because it means to go home and pain. Like it's a mixture of two roots that mean those things, like a painful return home in many ways, and
That's interesting.
yeah, I would say like actually the game Zork Nemesis, which was a great point and click from like the 90s. And I wrote like a long indulgent essay on that one for my own blog a long time ago. Uh, Zork Nemesis. It was a game my dad bought for us to play together, which was a complete left field thing because he didn't play video games with me. But then when we eventually had the computer that could run it, because we didn't at the time, um, he didn't want to play, and that's something that's always stuck with me.
Like a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it was a missed opportunity, and then he ended up like really trashing games, and I had to like actually confront him on it. Like, you got to stop this shit.
Yeah.
But so I guess like Zork Nemesis is a game that makes me think of him bitterly.
Yeah.
But I do
You're
love,
taking all the good stuff for the next person.
yeah, but I do love it. At the same, I think everybody should play it. In many ways, it's ridiculous, but in many ways, it's wonderful.
Zork Nemesis.
Yes, you can get it on GOG.
Yep.
Good old games.
Fantastic service. I use it heavily. But then again, I got a thing for nostalgia, so.
Yeah, I'm well aware.
Yeah.
You used to announce like the anniversary of like every fucking game.
I have a good memory when it comes to that stuff. I think people got tired of it, so that's why I stopped announcing all the anniversaries.
Oh no, I was relying on you.
But maybe I'll get back to it soon.
You are a valuable resource, and I like making fun of you.
Yeah. And someday in the late future, people look back and say he was a pseudo game historian. All right, Gil. Well, thank you very much for hopping on. Where can people of the internet find you? Twitter. What is the website you want to direct them towards?
Yeah, definitely Twitter. I am at Gil Means Joy, and that's true. It's a true sentence. Mm-hmm. My name means joy. So I'm at Gil Means Joy on Twitter. And if you want to look at my writing, it is at I think gil.almogi.contently.com right now.
Yep. And you can get that from your Twitter handle as well.
Yeah, it's actually in my Twitter bio, but also, however, I was inspired by a talk given by this jerk from Microsoft and his friend. He looked like you, and it looks like maybe setting up my own URL and portfolio via Microsoft branded products.
Hey, it's WordPress. It's WordPress. It works everywhere.
With WordPress, might actually be a way to go. So I'll be looking at that, and hopefully by the beginning of the year there will be a gilmeansjoy.com of some sort.
Perfect. That's what I like to hear. You better buy it now before someone else snatches it and tries to sell it back to you.
I hate that person.
Yeah, I've got to say you have awesome Twitter background art. By the way, how can someone else get similar art?
Oh, are you talking about my header image?
Yeah.
So that's me in the like placed in the game Riven.
Yep.
That is the moiety tree there. That comes. I think it's in my bio. That's from Connie Sims.
Oh yeah, here we go. Now I'm looking at the words. Header by Connie Sims.
Yeah, but she's an incredible artist. I mean, she does pixel art too. Just a very versatile artist, and I paid her. She put out a call like saying, "Hey, I'll do whatchamacallit, things where people pay you." Oh God, I'm lost.
Art for commission.
Commissions. How embarrassing.
Actually, I could tell that we would get along immediately because she has awesome pictures of hedgehogs looking cute.
She's a versatile, incredible artist. I met her at a bar for like a gay gamer meetup, and we talked about Myst a lot.
Yep.
She is one of 3 people who know that there was more than one Myst game, mm-hmm. and has played them.
Hence your art there.
Yeah, so that's Riven. Riven is my favorite of the Myst games. It was incredible.
And you see that whole FMV unites us, right? I think Riven had FMV, and then definitely 3 and 4 did, and now they just had a 4th Myst-like game, right, from the same creators. 5th.
Myst, and the next 3 sequels had FMV.
Yep.
Myst Uru did not.
Right.
It was purely engine rendered third person, and Myst 5 was engine rendered first person. So no FMV.
Yeah, I missed out on that one.
And yes, Cyan released via Kickstarter, which I backed, but never got the time to play.
Yep.
Abduction, which returns to their FMV style, which FMV is received in a very mixed way right now. So
Yeah, it is, but it's making a comeback. It's making a comeback.
I mean, I'm not a particular loyalist for it. It just for me, it better work. I'm not nostalgic for game mechanics.
No, I'm with you.
I love certain games. I love things that remind me of those games in a way.
Yep.
But the buck stops there, I guess. So if you're gonna have FMV, there better be a reason to do it.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you though, leaving on a high note. Well, I just went through a game called The Bunker. Great developers. I had an awesome time talking to them at PAX. The game was shot fantastically well. It's just that there wasn't enough engagement. It was like basically cutscenes. You're just kind of hitting a button through. Check it out if you like FMV games, though. But last year, Tim Fallon, who, if you're not aware of who he was, if you like video game music, oh my goodness, look up the Fallon Brothers, Follin. They absolutely rocked NES soundtracks in the 90s. Went back and made this game last year called Contradiction, which was incredible. You're a detective going through somewhere in England. It takes place over 3 days, and you're trying to solve this murder through this religious cult. And I was so enamored by it immediately, and I said, oh my God, there's got to be another. So Contradiction, if you're looking for a good FMV game.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds interesting. I'm into visual novels and stuff, so I'm all for like things where you don't interact all that much. But some gamers don't do that.
Yeah. To each their own. Well, thank you again very much for hopping on, and I'll have us posted shortly.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Till the next time.
Bye bye.